अगर आपको इस पूरा पॉडकास्ट देखने का वक्त नहीं है तो बढ़िया बढ़िया रसीली क्लिप्स देखिए और आनंद उठाइए. सब्सक्राइब टू दोस्तकास्ट क्लिप्स.
Until I heard Vishnu Jain.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a sec, because I think I've heard the words Waqf board said a lot in news.
Right.
I've never had risen above my ignorance to figure out what it was.
Yes. So same here. Same with most people, because they don't. Now, you see, on its own, you can say everyone is entitled to worry about their own piece of land. Sure, absolutely. But then is there something called the Hindu equivalent of Waqf? Is there something called the Christian equivalent of Waqf? Even if you were to allow for that, even if you say, look, that's not discriminatory just because, Hindu Waqf doesn't exist, you can't say that the Muslim Waqf should not exist. I mean, I don't know the equivalent of Waqf for Hindus, but, you get the gist. The problem comes when it becomes draconian and starts to usurp land that, on their whims and fancies, you say it is now Waqf land. And what happens is, through the ages of this act, the clauses are so draconian that in order to disprove that, look, Are bhai, this is not Waqf land. Why are you taking it? You have to run from pillar to post, and most times out of not, you simply give up.
So what would be an example of this where like a Waqf board takes a land up?
Right. So for example, there was a recent example in Tamil Nadu, where a 1500-year-old temple was suddenly decided that it is on Waqf land. Now you tell me, how can a 1500-year-old temple be on Islamic land when Islam is only 1300 years old?
Agreed. So who decided this? Like, does this supposed Waqf board gather together and say कि यार हमारा यहाँ पे like,
absolutely.
How do you stake claim on that?
So the Waqf board stakes claim. Anybody can say they are in their rights to declare any land as Waqf. They can. And until a few years ago, you couldn't even go to the court. Now at least you can go to the court and fight. But you know what happens. You have 5 crore cases pending. Suddenly your land is adjudged to be on Waqf land. The commissioner, the collector, all those instruments of the state are used to kind of browbeat you into saying that, look, this is now, and Supreme Court ruling has said, once a Waqf, always a Waqf.
So for context,
yes,
agar we're sitting on this campus
we are sitting
right now,
here, yes,
right?
Correct.
So if I were to say this is Waqf land,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Then the state machinery would work with me to prove it?
Yeah.
What are my safeguards against this?
So your only, my safeguard, if this was my land and you suddenly said, is to disprove you.
But it is incumbent upon me to disprove you.
Yes.
So I can just wake up from my sleep and announce that this is my land.
Absolutely. This is what has been happening. Waqf is the 3rd largest landholder in India. 3rd largest. 70% of Delhi is adjudged to be on Waqf land. First time I talked about this, I was in Times Now studio. And I said, pata lagao kahin ye Waqf land pe nahi, और वो Waqf land पे निकला.
तो पर अब वो उस पे है.
And Antilla, Ambani's house is on Waqf land. Delhi High Court is on Waqf land. CGO complex, Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium is on. Central Vista is on Waqf land.
तो वो तो out of courtesy नहीं कर रहे हैं उस पे claim, मतलब उसको मतलब one is claiming, the second is raising the structures there and building something, right?
So you see now how soon before that becomes reality. You have to look at the way things develop in this country. And I've talked about this in my book. When Muslims left after partition, many of them left left India and they went to Pakistan. Their land was given to the Hindu refugees who had come from there. But in 1980s, Rajiv Gandhi gave all that property. That, by the way, when Hindus left Pakistan, their property was given to Muslims, right? And Muslims stayed on there. Out here, Rajiv Gandhi gave all that property to Waqf. Now, Waqf decides what rent to set on that. In 2014, just a month before the UPA was booted out, 123 properties that the government had staked claim on, Waqf property, were simply handed over to Waqf. Now,
Free of cost.
yes, these are prime properties in Delhi that were just handed, worth thousands of crores, were handed to Waqf. The case lingered on. After 9 years, just 2 months ago or 1 month ago, this government has taken back that order.
Yeah.
Right? But this is just the beginning, because you have a huge battery of Waqf lawyers who will fight that case till whatever. Now, the question is not that anybody has a property dispute. I mean, they go on in our country for ages, they have. The question is discrimination. The question is not that a property rightfully belongs to a Hindu or a Muslim or a Sikh or a Christian. Why should anybody worry about it? The question is the recourse. If suddenly this property, the question that you asked, is adjudged to be a Waqf property, what do I do? And believe me, there is the Waqf Act 1995. There was supposed to be a new act to come in that would have acted for anybody who encroached on Waqf land. Now, that had already been tabled in the Rajya Sabha, or I've talked about it in the book, but the government changed, so that bill never became an act. But had that happened, the powers were so draconian, you could have simply raised structures if you thought that land is from here on Waqf land. So you call Yogi Adityanath as the bulldozer Baba. It was kindergarten stuff compared to what would have happened had that bill been enacted. This is rampant discrimination. This doesn't happen in Islamic countries. And you wonder, just because people should not accuse that, look, you're talking out of your hat and all that. That's the most descriptive chapter in my book, because I quote verbatim all the sections and clauses. Read those clauses and make your own opinion if those are discriminatory or not.